Hey, Pen Succulent here. Today I'm going to talk about how to care for your succulents. Here are a few samples. I'll explain later what makes a difference. So the two main elements affect succulents, how you grow them. First one is sunlight, and then it's about how to water them. So as you see, this is my garden. It's almost south facing, very bright. So the bigger older ones, more mature succulents, I just left them out here, and most of them still under the polytunnel. With all this sunlight, that's what makes succulents grow with good color and also helps them grow healthier. But for these are matured ones. For baby one, you see on the left by the fence, they are kind of half shading. They see the sky, but when the sun most of the day don't really direct affect them. So it's the side one here. This is where I normally propagate them, the baby ones, or any succulents they are a bit they can't really take the sun. If they are too a bit delicate, or sometimes they not well, so you just put them a half shade, let them recover. And here the example of what happens when they lack of sunlight. So for example, the left two, they're both sodium. So the front one in a little pot like this, always full direct sunlight, about 4 or 5 years old. This one, it's been there like from the beginning. And see the ones behind is a very similar species, but you see I particularly left this one in by the fence in a very dark corner on the left, and that's what happens, which is a lot of time when people say why my succulents growing tall, and that's one big reason, because it didn't have enough sunlight. So the solution is either you have like a garden or balcony, you can put it out there, or most of us grow it in, if you have only just a window, south facing is the best, or east or west side have half day, but that way you really need to control watering. So if you only have half day sunlight, make sure you don't overwater it. So the combination of lack sunlight and overwatering would make it grow tall. So for this one, if your succulents already grow tall, so how to save it, you can find a scissors, cut it where you want it to, to the height you want, and then where you cut off, it's gonna grow new heads. I have an example to show you. See this one, you see here these brown bits, I cut them off because on the left hand side they grow a bit too tall for a while. So where I cut off, you see they grow extra new heads out, and before you know it, it looks pretty again. And the heads where you cut off, let's just do the surgery for this one anyway. Okay, so I just cut that one bit off. So where it cuts off, it's still wet, so you wait for at least 2 days, or even longer, that's fine, because succulents without watering can survive for quite a long time. 1 or 2 months is actually fine, particularly, this one's quite a good size, there's a lot of water in the leaves, so they wouldn't die, so don't worry about that. Give it a few days for the wound to dry. Then you just need to get a pot, fill in some soil, and gently put it into the soil, let it grow. And if that one's still tall, after where the end rooted, you can always cut this bit again. So in the end you got 3 plants, and where you cut off, that bit often they will grow new heads out. Yep. So that's what you do when a succulent's grow overgrown. But if a succulent's being left, the sodium one, or in a good sunlight, they won't really overgrow. They stay roughly the same size. They grow tiny little bit taller each year, but still in a very good shape and particularly good color. And then the second one is a contain. See that one in the shade for a while. They don't really grow tall, but what it does is you lose color. You see this one is more pale and got this nice pink edge, and that one almost all the powder's gone. No, it's very green. But these ones, no, it's very easy to, you know, get pretty again. All you need is just put it in the sunlight. But only thing you need to care for is, I mean, day in summer might be too hot. So if a succulent be in a lack of sunlight environment for a long time, you might need to take it easy, you know, like instead of taking it all of a sudden all day sunlight, maybe 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, in the end, when it's get used to the sun, then it will be able to stay in a full day sunlight. And there's another one example is the same. Sagavoides eboni. Same species. So when it's a lack of sunlight, you know, it was a bit a baby one, so I just left it in a corner for it to hide away from the shade. But then this one is a slightly more matured one. Yeah, it's just very good color in the sun. And watering. So it was very simple. One way you can do is just do it over the top. Let me just go grab one of my water can quick. Okay. Well, I normally do it with hose because I got lots of plants. But if you do it at home, let's get that pump. You can either do it just to the soil. If you had any water landed in the middle of the leaves, you want to gently blow them out. Right? You don't want the water. You don't want the water to stay in the middle. Okay, so that's one way to do it, but that wasn't enough. You just want to keep doing it until you can see the water is dripping out from the bottom. Sometimes you might have left the soil for dry for too long. So if you water in it and it come out straight away, it might be because the water came out from the edge. So what you don't do is just keep giving it like a few minutes of spraying to the soil. Or what's easier is you can use, for example, an outside container, filling some water in there, and sit your plants inside. Let's quickly do that one as well. Okay, say for example, that's my another big water can. Put the water in there. See, like that. And you leave it for 10 minutes or longer, that's fine, but as long as you remember to take it out later. So make sure, you know, you can feel much heavier. And yeah, that's another easy way of me. Yep.